It was a Friday night, December 9th, 2005. I was 16 years old at the time. Little did I know that this night would change my life forever. I was driving to a friend's house after seeing a movie with my church youth group. The roads were icy and it was dark outside. All of a sudden, my car fishtailed. I lost control and slid into the intersection. An oncoming truck was unable to stop. There was a loud crack as the truck T-boned my car. Then, all went black. I am Bethany Pearson. This is my story of being broken, literally shattered, inside and out, and my process of hope and recovery. Truly being remade into the woman God has me to be. After paramedics got to the scene, they realized my sister was dead and they could not get a heartbeat out of her. And so they put me onto an ambulance but could not get a tube down my throat. So my paramedic quickly called a firefighter to say, hey, I can't get a stable airway, so you have to bag this girl with oxygen while I do other things to try to keep her alive. And I did not know what was going on. I had lost so much blood, I was trying to just stay alive. And they went over 90 miles an hour to get me to Gillette Children's Hospital with the hopes of donating my organs before I died. After I got there to the hospital, I had a 15-hour surgery where 4 teams of surgeons used titanium plates and screws to try to put my skull, eye socket, cheek, and jaw back together again. My entire right cheek is titanium metal underneath. And after the surgery was done, they told my parents that if I lived, I would never walk or talk again. My jaw had to be wired shut for a month so that it could heal, and I was in a medically induced coma. However, I was still a fighter, and with my first therapy, an occupational therapist came in with a clipboard and said, Bethany, what can you write? Can you write your name? Well, I wrote my name and my brother's name and my mom and father's names, and it meant that I was in there somehow and I recognized who was around me. And I kept progressing very slowly. I was in a wheelchair for quite a while and had many therapies. I had 6 therapy sessions a day. My recovery progressed rapidly and I learned to walk again unassisted and kept up with 6 therapy sessions a day, but progress was very slow. But each little thing was a huge milestone because of how global my brain injury was. I damaged 4 cranial nerves because I had a skull fracture that went around the back of my skull and hit my brain stem. As such, my left eye no longer blinks and does not look up or down. I cannot smell, and I do suffer from short-term memory loss. By the time I left the hospital, I was only at a kindergarten level mentally. And 2 years later, by the grace of God, I graduated high school, only having lost 1 year with my 70 days in the hospital. which really shows me God's grace. My first day trip from the hospital, my parents asked me, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "To the barn. And I want to take the truck too." I was barely walking at this point, and my parents hoisted me up into our big Dodge 2500 truck and took me to the barn to see my horse. I have always loved horses. I think they're just beautiful animals. And 10 years ago, I started taking horseback riding lessons. Bought a first pony, got into horseback riding and jumping, and then got a larger horse who is an ex-racehorse and a champion jumper. Little did I know what he would come to mean to me. He so gently took care of me. He willingly serves me and doesn't judge. He doesn't care what I've been through. And I think it would be neat if we could all be as accepting and non-judgmental as a horse. He really made me want to be better and to want to try my best and to realize that I had a friend in him who I could always talk to and who would always listen. In the hospital, and even when I got out of the hospital, I wondered if I would ever be normal. I wondered if anyone would ever see me as a real human with all of my scars, or if they would just look at me and see a scarred person, a person who'd been through really terrible things, or maybe just a weirdo, because I had to relearn social normalities, and that came slowly, and I had a lot of friends rolling their eyes at me because I wouldn't realize when things were appropriate or not. And so for a long time I wondered if anyone would ever accept me as a regular person. And it was difficult. I struggled with suicidal thoughts, and that my life caused so much pain to others that it would be better if I were dead. And one night I went to my mom and I said, "You have to get me help." She said, "All right, dear, I will do that," and very quickly found a good therapist who was able to help me see God's will through my struggles and trials. I've lost some friends with my large life transition, but I've regained some incredible friends, and I've found new amazing friends. And realizing that God is supreme over all things has really helped me. And I still have rough days, just like anyone else, but I have learned to see God's supremacy through my trial and my pain. Because of my accident, I was able to compete in the Miss You Can Do It Minnesota pageant, which is a pageant for disabled girls, started by a woman who ran for Miss America and won Miss Iowa with cerebral palsy, and she couldn't even walk without an escort. And so she started a pageant for disabled girls, and I was crowned Miss You Can Do It Minnesota in 2009, and I won my age category, which was really, really neat. Where have I been? Well, my past is harsh, truly life-altering, and devastating. But through God's grace and for His glory, I can now live a life of purpose. I can choose to make a difference because of what I've been through, and I can encourage those who are hurting and bring hope to those who may not have much to smile about. My life is truly a miracle of Jesus Christ, and I am very blessed to be alive.